Coming up this week on Sporting Journal Radio.
Especially opening weekend, pressure is going to be the number one concern, right?
And all the reports we're getting is that bucks are starting to chase does.
The odds of you seeing that nicer, more mature deer is going to significantly increase.
Broadcasting on the Sporting Journal Radio Network, wherever you get your podcasts or watch on YouTube.
Fish on right now.
Well, we're here at the 2024 Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic, presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. And our guest now is Jeremy Smith. I fish, I hunt, and always will.
Just to look out for your everyday hunter, angler, and trapper that's out there.
A Fish Hunt Forever production. This is Sporting Journal Radio.
I wonder if sometimes people that listen to this show think Jeremy Smith is on every week.
Or Jay Siemens or Aaron Weeb. What if they're so disappointed they think this is Jay Siemens' podcast that he hosts it? And then
apologies to Jay.
Then they look at our two faces and go, who the heck are these bimbos? But hey, at least we're not going to have to talk about the election anymore.
That's right. I'm Brett Amundsen. That's Dan Amundsen, in case you're wondering who the bimbos actually
Not Jay Siemens and Aaron Weeb or Jeremy Smith.
That's right. Election, man, it is good to have the election behind us. Nice not to talk about that stuff for a change. We will talk about the fact that the LCCMR vote came up and passed. We'll mention that.
I love it.
We just did, so we maybe don't need to anymore.
I love it.
We also have Ben Bredigan joining us on the show from OnX. What new tools does OnX have that'll make you more successful this deer hunting season? We'll find out. He's also done a bunch of bird hunting, and he's got the Grand Nationals this weekend. What is that, and where is it? We'll find out with Ben coming up. Joe Henry's got a Lake of the Woods fishing report. He was just there. He will tell you where the walleyes are right now. But first, Dan, who are the sponsors this week?
Invergrove Toyota, the official truck sponsor of Fish Hunt Forever, is Invergrove Toyota. When looking for your new rig, head to Invergrove. Lake of the Woods Tourism. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world. Plan a trip for this fall or an ice fishing trip at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. OnX Hunt, can't hunt without it. See private land boundaries, recent imagery, offline maps, and Minnesota-specific hunt layers. Download the OnX Hunt app today. Tasman Lake Lodge, catch world record lake trout and giant pike at Saskatchewan's Tasman Lake. Learn more at tasmanlake.com. Devil's Lake, North Dakota. Just about time to think ice fishing out there. Catch it all at Devil's Lake. Prairie Sportsman, we just won an Emmy. New season's going to be coming out soon. You can watch episodes anytime at the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel. Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Fish out of a snow bear this winter. Learn more at haybaleheights.com. And Guardian Eagle Resort. Go fish the Ontario waters of Guardian Eagle Resort next summer. You can fly direct from the Twin Cities. Learn more at guardianeagle.com.
Headlines.
All right, headlines are brought to you by Invergrove Toyota. Right now, get 1.99% APR for 72 months on a new 2024 Tundra or $2,000 customer cash on a 2025. And for you, we've got a deal for you. Get $250 off the lowest advertised price and an additional $500 for your trade-in. You have to go to invergrovetoyota.com/FHF and fill out the voucher there to save more money. All right, It is the opening of deer hunting this weekend. There's a couple of new things for deer hunters. If you're going to be on public land, a person who's hunting in a fabric or synthetic ground blind must have a blaze orange safety covering on top of that blind that's visible from all directions, or a patch made of blaze orange material that is at least 144 square inches on each side of the blind. That's 12 inches by 12 inches. This regulation applies to people who are hunting deer using archery, firearm, or muzzleloader on public land.
So I think the only reason that's in the new section, because I think that was a big thing last year, I think the reason it's in the new section is because they had it specified where it was just all hunters on public land. So all of a sudden everyone who wanted to turkey hunt out of a ground blind was like, well, wait a second.
Right.
We don't want to put orange on our turkey blind. So I think that's a change, and I think that's why it's new. So if you're hearing that going, oh, we had to do that before, you're right, but it's the wording was changed. The DNR listened and listened to people complain and did the right thing.
It was confusing last year for sure. There is some mandatory CWD testing required for opening weekend. New areas where CWD sampling is mandatory, including deer permit areas 156, 173, 181, and 199 in northeast Minnesota. And there's also a new zone near Wabasha because of a positive deer detected last fall. That is formerly 342. It is now deer permit area 642. So make sure you check the regs. Make sure that if you're in one of those, make sure you're hunting what zone you're hunting in case it's one of those CWD zones so that you know what's going on. Find out all the latest regulations on the DNR website and in the new handbook. So election night the other night, Dan.
Good news.
Good times.
It honestly went about as well as I think it could have gone for hunters and anglers across the country, including in Minnesota. The Environment and Natural Resources Trust Fund renewal overwhelmingly passed. Well done, Minnesota. I'll be honest, scrolling through Facebook the last few weeks, I was nervous that wouldn't pass, but 77, according to the Secretary of State website, Minnesota Secretary of State, estimated percent of yes votes is 77.45%. That's 2,524,586 yes votes, 530,172 no votes, and then 205,056 estimated blanks.
Numbers.
So not even close. Good job, Minnesota. I know we had a lot of discussions about it and how it's not perfect, but it sure seems like a yes vote was the right answer for our outdoors.
I'm disappointed, Minnesota, for not putting a ballot question on about making duck season late again.
Well, if we keep
if
we keep whining about it, it might happen. That's one thing I think we need to talk to the DNR more about. I think that there's room for improvement there. We can work around the flyway structure. And just to make it clear, we're not happy with everything the DNR does. I know we got accused of that the last few weeks. They're not perfect, but we'll give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, I'm very not happy with the way the duck season is structured by the Minnesota DNR.
Yeah, October is terrible. It's a garbage month to duck hunt these days.
Bad. It's because, and people are like, well, there's migration happens in October and this and that. It's like there's a little bit, but nowadays with maybe it's warmer weather or whatever, but a lot of crops up in Canada that keep the ducks there longer, and the geese. And you shoot up the locals. So you could open the season September 21st like you did this year, or open it October 1st. You're probably going to be shooting the same ducks that you would 10 days earlier, or 12 days earlier, 11 days, whatever. Maybe a few blue wings left, but we shot a blue wing on October 30th?
31st maybe?
This year, something like that. So,
or give us a bigger split or something. I don't know.
I thought it was great when they went to 3 zones and had a split in the central and then a longer split in the south. I thought that was great. And then they combined the central and the south for some weird reason.
Well, it's frustrating because too many people in the South complain about how long the split was, and I don't think they understood it. And the other issue is, and I know we're kind of beating the dead horse right now. There's so many hunters that just hunt the first couple weekends, and like once MEA hits or pheasant season opens, they're done or deer season starts. The best duck hunting is yet to come, and after this weekend, I think a lot of people are done. I honestly, after this weekend, I feel like a lot of hunting is done for a lot of folks. Period.
Things, up in northern Minnesota, maybe the last week or two has been really good, last 2 weeks probably. But in the central part of the state anyway, things are just about to start getting good. Like we haven't shot a Canada goose this year. And we hunt in some pretty goosey territory historically. And we have got, granted, we spent a couple weeks in Saskatchewan during the waterfowl season. But to be fair, there just hasn't been any geese around.
No.
Pretty much all year. So anyway, if you're looking for a place to go shoot some waterfowl, check out Devil's Lake, North Dakota. Maybe a cast and blast destination. The walleye bite is strong. The migration is on. In fact, North Dakota, I've been hearing reports about snow geese being everywhere out there. Catch it all at Devil's Lake. Visit devilslakend.com to learn more and plan your next trip. All right, we took a trip to Saskatchewan, of course, and you can see a new video at the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel, a new snow goose hunting video that we put up from our trip to Saskatchewan. We also spent a lot of time around Regina. We went to the Rough Riders game. We had some local beers. We had lots of poutine and pierogies.
Oh, so good.
So good.
A lot of carbohydrates on the trip.
And if you're thinking about taking a trip, or maybe you go to Saskatchewan. I'm going there next week to go deer hunting. When we go up to Tasman Lake and do some fishing up at Tasman Lake Lodge, a lot of times we make a stop in Regina. And if you travel through Regina, make a stop. And if you're looking for stuff to do, we've got a whole list of places to stay, places to eat, things to do. There's a casino there. And we wrote it all down in a nice little travel blog and made it easy for you to make a trip planned at fishhuntforever.com. So go there and then check it out. And while you're there, if you want to do a walleye trip, maybe to Ontario, you can learn about Guardian Eagle Resort 2. Bring the family. Fly directly from Minneapolis. You can fly directly to Regina or Guardian Eagle Resort.
Now, could you fly from Regina to Guardian Eagle. So you fly from Minneapolis to Regina.
I bet you could
hang out there and then get flown to Guardian Eagle.
I think we're making plans. See, next year's trip, Regina, Guardian Eagle. I think you can. I mean, if you got an airplane, there's runways. You can go wherever you want. So Guardian Eagle has a runway right at their resort. You can feed walleyes off the dock. It is way cool. Find out more at guardianeagle.com. And they'll be at some of the sports shows this winter. So if you want to talk to Claire and Twyla and meet the owners in person, you'll be able to at some of the shows. Probably see us there too as well. Real quick, Dan, before we start talking to Ben, I bow hunted the other night and had kind of a neat experience. It was a small buck, so this isn't the shooter, but what I thought the best part was I got out a little late. I had some work to do, and I climbed into the stand, and as I'm pulling up my bow, I got it tied to a rope. As I'm pulling it up, I grab it, I look up, there's a small buck right in front of me. I don't think he saw me. He seemed a little skittish, but I don't think he saw me. He just kind of wandered off. So I said, what the heck? I grabbed my grunt call, and I just did this short little grunt, and then I waited, 5-10 minutes. And then I was searching, I was glassing, and then I grabbed my grunt call again, and I put it up, and I wasn't, I think I had binoculars up still, and I grabbed the wrong end. And
not the first time you've said that.
The only way I can describe it is when you give a 3-year-old a duck call, the kind of noises that they make. That's what I did from the stand, and I almost burst out laughing. I was like, oh gosh, I just ruined it. And I just sat there quietly, and another 5-10 minutes went by, and I just grabbed the right end, and I grunted again just a little bit, and this little buck came right back, and he started off out in front of me, and I think it's a little plum tree on that corner if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify. This is the first year I've seen it bear any fruit. I didn't even know it was there. And you can see this deer is jumping up, and I don't know if maybe he's grabbing some vegetation yet. I'm guessing he's grabbing fruit off that tree, and he's jumping up and grabbing it. I thought that was pretty neat. And then he does that for a couple of minutes, and then he comes walking right up to me and then just spends about 3 minutes right directly beneath my stand. So it was kind of neat. He's too small to shoot, obviously. So it's just, this right here is what I love about bow hunting, is just the natural interaction you have with deer and other animals. And this guy probably smelled something off a little bit. So he came and probably smelled me walking in a little bit, and then smelled the stand, and but didn't know I was there. I didn't move, so that's why he can't. I wish I could have filmed him better, but I couldn't move. So it was kind of neat, but it got me excited. The deer are definitely moving. All the reports we're getting is that bucks are starting to chase does. So if you haven't been bow hunting yet, get out there or be very, very ready. I think the gun opener is about perfect timing with the rut, depending on who you ask.
A lot of deer might die Saturday.
Yes.
And I think some people go back and forth on whether they want gun season during the rut.
Right.
Because a lot of deer get shot during the gun season no matter when it is. Look at when Wisconsin season is.
Yeah.
So you might have mixed feelings. And it's one Saturday happens, you're going to have so many four-wheelers and people walking through the woods and the prairie and whatnot that all natural movement's going to be thrown off for a bit. So
everything is about to change for sure. All right. Well, good luck, hunters. Be safe. Be strapped in the deer stand. Watch where you're shooting, make sure your target, wear orange, be safe, be successful, and good luck while you're out there. And if you're looking for world record lake trout and northern pike over 50 inches next summer, check out tazenlake.com and watch for us working shows around the Twin Cities. We'll be in Chicago. We'll be in a bunch of other cities as well, too. Come up and say hi, meet Trevor and Barry and myself. All right, Ben Bredigan from OnX and Joe Henry coming up from Lake of the Woods with a report all on the way on Sporting Journal Radio. Sick of eating tagged soup? It's time to own your odds this fall with OnX Hunt, the GPS hunting app trusted by millions of hunters. Now you'll have access to nationwide public and private land ownership information, waypoints, optimal wind for each stand, tracks, and much more. All at your fingertips. Go to onxmaps.com/hunt and use code SJR20 at checkout to receive 20% off your membership. That's code SJR20. All right, this is Sporting Journal Radio. I'm Brett Amundsen, and Ben Bredigan from OnX joins us right now on the show. Ben, how's it going?
Fantastic. It is one of the best times of year right now.
I love November. The only thing I don't like about it, it means that we're like halfway through fall, or maybe even starting to go down the backside. And I'm not happy about it.
A real glass half empty type.
I'm not. Normally, I'm not. It's just one of those things where it always goes by too fast. And this time of year, particularly, fishing is good. Deer hunting is here. The rut is on. The waterfowl migration is usually the best it is all year right around now. And then, of course, pheasant hunting. This is when I really start to get excited to go walking for birds. So it's one of those things when you walk out the door, what do you bring with you? What do you decide to do today? And but yeah, it's the best. It's the best. So it is the deer opener in Minnesota this weekend. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how hunters can use OnX to give them more success, help them be more successful this weekend. I want to talk about Grand Nationals, but before we get into all that, I just wanted you to know I actually got on some rough grouse this year. Dan and I shot some rough grouse this year finally. I feel like it's been a while since we did that. And, we filmed a TV show last year in northern Minnesota, and part of it was because of the report that you gave me that grouse hunting was so good last year. And then we walked for 2 days and didn't shoot a grouse.
Yeah, nice, foot of snow.
Yeah, we
slapped us in the face when we got there, so that was fun.
Yeah, day late, dollar short.
Yep.
Yeah, every time. But in between some snow goose hunts in Saskatchewan this year, we heard about a piece of land that has some grouse in it. So we went and walked for a little bit and shot some grouse. Got the dogs to chase some grouse around and shot a few of those. So it was felt good to shoot some grouse in the trees again.
That's awesome.
Been a little while. So, but how's your fall been?
It's been great. It has been full of all sorts of birds, kind of across the country, a little bit into Canada. So I finally accomplished my goal of not pheasant hunting in October. I've done nothing but grouse hunting in October. So I am a happy camper, and kind of like you alluded to, numbers were down a little bit from last year, certainly, but the carryover was still good enough where it was still a productive year. You could definitely tell they were old birds in the fact that just how they behaved. A lot of birds that were running. I mean, they've lived at this point year and a half now, so they're not young, dumb, and it just makes things a little bit more difficult to get good dog work and get a chance at a shot at one. But all in all, it's been pretty fantastic.
Yeah, and for pheasants, anyway, it's been so dry out there. I've only been out a couple of times. I'm not sure I pheasant hunted in October this year either. And the first time we went out, the grass is so tall because of how wet it was this spring. And then it's like somebody just shut the spigot off and it got so dry, like within 20 minutes, Tiny's eyes were just, her eyes and her nose were just chewed up from how dry it was out there. And then I knocked one bird down and didn't hit it very well, and it had some wheels, and I actually used the OnX app for this because I went and marked where it went down, and then we tracked and chased that thing around, and I had this, it was kind of nice because I was able to use the tracker on the OnX app to make sure we weren't, kind of going through some of the same territory. Made sure we did a loop and we zigzagged and we went back and forth and hit the area as best as possible. But I think that thing ended up in Iowa. It was running as soon as it hit the ground and it was out of there. But those dry conditions make it real tough out there when you're chasing birds around, and that's the way it's been. So we've got a little fog today, so there's maybe a little bit more moisture out there.
It's damp.
Yeah, we received a bunch of rain here in the last week, and that's certainly made scenting conditions better because, like you said, prior to that, oh man, it was rough. Anytime you got on birds, it was. I mean, you could tell from when it rained to when it wasn't raining, and just a giant difference in how the dogs could find birds, and obviously birds moving around, getting out of those areas. They had to be in areas that were wet, pretty much, and now you can start to see them return to some of the more traditional areas. So that's good to see.
We were talking to Sam Soholt trying to get him on the show this week, but he's said he's up in a tree with his walking boot right now. But it looks like maybe he did maybe it was recorded last year, but I saw a post, I don't think too long ago, of hunting in Nebraska with Sam. Was that?
Yeah, that was actually in South Dakota. So we were hunting.
Oh, South Dakota.
Yeah, we were hunting on at the time last year the new
the path.
Yep. So we were hunting on there, and that was an awesome time. And if anyone's been out to South Dakota, they know that the bird numbers this year are better. Lots of good reports coming out of South Dakota, and actually kind of a sister program to PATH in South Dakota, which stands for Public Access to Habitat. We just launched in conjunction with the state of Nebraska as well as Pheasants Forever what is called the Nebraska Conservation Access Program, or Partnership, sorry. And very similar to PATH, and they are off to an awesome start. I think already there's been 44,000 acres enrolled in what I'm calling NCAP, Nebraska Community Access Partnership. So it's fun to see that PATH style model continuing to expand across the states, and hopefully it'll just continue to do so.
Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely was mixing up those two. I even have the two questions separated, but I definitely combined them into one right there. But that's really neat. And was that a goal from the start, or did you see how well PATH went in South Dakota and you said, we need to expand this to other states. Let's go to Nebraska next. How did that happen?
Yeah, so Pheasants Forever has been the main driver of, obviously of PATH and now of NCAP. And from the start, yes, that was their desire. Coming from our perspective, from Onyx, that is something I certainly wanted to see. Just because one state is great, but how do you impact change on scale, right? So this model of bringing in local communities to help support these access programs to drive economic development is a great sustainable model that can scale, right? You're not requiring, you're not relying on, say, for example, VPA HIP money from the Farm Bill. This is people in the area that are essentially giving money with the hope that it returns to their pockets 3, 4, 5, 10-fold from hunting access in their area, and these hunters providing economic stimulus.
That's how some of these small towns stay alive. There's no question about it. The outdoor economy is monstrous between hunting and fishing, and just what it does for those small towns and the small town businesses is huge. And land access, to me, is a key to preserving the outdoors and hunting in a lot of ways. When people talk about people not buying hunting licenses or the hunting community getting smaller, this and that, and they'll name different things, and it's important to do this, and we need to do this, and we need to do that. But to me, the number one thing is we need to give people places to go, quality habitat, quality land where they can go and have a quality experience. Because even if you get somebody new out there, you take somebody new hunting and you go to some place and it's just, maybe it's trampled or it just doesn't have good habitat and it doesn't have any birds or whatever you're hunting out there, and they have a bad experience, there's a good chance they may not want to do it again. So being able to take somebody into a place with quality habitat and opening up, some more opportunities, some more access like that, to me, that's the key to the future in the outdoors.
100%. We launched our report, Private Land, Public Access, over a year now ago, and we surveyed a bunch of people, and that was the number one reason why people weren't hunting or getting involved in hunting more so is access to quality habitat and land near them. So you hit the nail on the head with that.
So with that NCAP habitat, that's Nebraska state land, or how?
So that'll go into Nebraska's Open Fields and Waters program, which is essentially their walk-in access program. Sim in Minnesota, we have walk-in areas. North Dakota has plots, so that is their version, the Nebraska Open Fields and Waters program. So that will, when this NCAP land is enrolled, it will fall under that voluntary public access program.
Okay, so it's actually private land then, and then are they responsible for the habitat on that then, or is there some funding for habitat work with
Certainly,
that?
Yeah. Certainly. So that is, landowners are only able to enroll high quality CRP rangeland and ungrazed grasslands into I think it's a 5-year agreement through this program. So they're very strict on what they are able to enroll in this land, as well as, when you talk about the CRP program, there are additional benefits to enrolling your land. You'll get a payment. I believe it's the one-time incentive payment for this open field, or for NCAP, is $25 an acre for quality CRP, or $10 an acre for working rangelands or grasslands, as well as the OFW will give annual payments, which range, I think, from like 50 cents an acre to $15 an acre, and that just depends on the habitat.
I think having access to some of that private land and then making sure it's quality habitat is definitely key, for sure. All right, Ben, let's talk deer hunting a little bit. We might have to take a break. We'll maybe take a break here and come back. Should we take a break, Dan?
Sure.
Okay. Let's take a break.
We're good at this.
On-air production meeting.
Promise.
We're
professionals.
Take a quick break. Ben Bredigan joining us from OnX. More with Ben. Let's talk deer hunting when we come back.
It doesn't get much better than fresh perch and fresh walleye. If you're looking for an exciting winter fishing destination, come to Devil's Lake, North Dakota. Haybale Heights Campground and Resort is on the ice with a fleet of snow bears, keeping you mobile and warm so you can stay on the roaming schools of fish. Haybale Heights on the east end of Devil's Lake has knowledgeable guides, comfortable cabins, and their own lake access, making your trip as successful and stress-free as possible. To book your trip, go to haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com.
We're back, Sporting Journal Radio. Ben Bredigan is our guest right now with OnX. The deer opener is coming up for Minnesota hunters, as we know. I used to look forward to this weekend because it meant all the ducks and geese were fair game. Because everybody be in the woods, or, at pheasant hunting, I mean, even some of the stuff would open up for pheasants, but a lot of times deer hunters are walking the same ground for pheasants too. But I always liked it because it meant I could probably go hunt wherever I wanted for ducks and geese. But this year is different. I bought a muzzleloader, Ben, so I'm going to get in on the gun season I haven't gun hunted. I think I've gun hunted in Minnesota once in my life. Otherwise, I'm always just bow hunting, and a lot of times I do bow hunt on opener too. But I'm going to climb into the tree with a muzzleloader this year. Have you used muzzleloaders much?
I have not a tremendous amount. I've shot a handful of deer with them, and nowadays, I mean, inline muzzleloaders, they're exceptional. So it makes for a fun time, especially you put a low power scope on there, and you've got yourself almost a single shot rifle. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we had Tony Smotherman on about a month ago or something, and he said they're using them in the mountains now for up to like 800 yards and things like that, which this is just crazy to me. But I'm excited about it. I haven't used one, and the one time I gun hunted, it was we were filming a Prairie Sportsman episode, and we were down in southeastern Minnesota. It was during one of the CWD hunts, and somebody lent me their shotgun and some slugs, and I missed a nice buck at very close range, and I was very mad about it. I said I'm never using a shotgun ever again. So I'm excited to get out there. And Ben, where I'm at out in western Minnesota, we're out here in the prairie. And, I'm looking at, some property, and I'll pull up the OnX app, and, the 3D base map, because we're so flat out here, you wouldn't think that you would use that as much, but it really helps you find some of those small draws or those little low spots that deer like to use for traffic areas. So what are some of the tools that deer hunters, what other tools are? Let me start that over.
We're professionals again.
I was up a little late with the election last night, so I'm moving a little slow today. But what are some of the tools? What are some of the other tools deer hunters should be using with the OnX app this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with one of them. The 3D maps with the exaggeration is great to identify those micro pieces of terrain changes that really dictate movement in a lot of cases. Whether you're a private land or public land hunter, this, especially opening weekend, pressure is going to be the number one concern, right? There are going to be a lot of people in the woods, more people in the woods than any other time of season. So you got to realize those deer are going to be impacted by that. So finding areas that are out of the way, whether it's accessing areas that maybe other people don't consider or wouldn't think to do, to be able to maybe sneak behind that and then utilize the pressure of people, say, walking into a property opening morning is one big way that I use the app, especially when you're hunting on public land. But the same thing can be said about private land, right? You've got to, so many people do it, and I'm guilty of it. We've got a small property, and there's two access ways to get in there. One is really easy. You walk in, but also you have to walk right in through bedding areas. So really, to identify other access routes to get in there that you aren't walking through the middle of the deer, and it might be harder, but that's one big thing. The other is, again, guilty of it. Everyone's got, say, their opening day stand. You've been going to the same camp for years and years and decades, and you sit the same stand no matter what the wind direction is. And if you can help it, that is going to help increase your success. You might not shoot on opening day, but it could be that Sunday or that Monday or the second week of deer season. Just because you can see them, you might get small bucks, a few does coming in, but those bigger deer, if you're going after them, they're just not going to put up with the pressure. So one cool feature is it's optimal wind. So if you drop a waypoint, you can then go in, say you drop a waypoint on your deer stand, you can go in and say, all right, this stand is good on a west, north, and maybe a northwest wind. It's going to ping our weather system, and you can then look at a calendar. You can see it in real time. It'll show you an arrow, and your waypoint will turn red, or red if the wind is not good at that time, green if it's good, orange if it's okay, as well as look into the future on that calendar and be able to see, okay, opening morning isn't going to be the best time to sit this stand, but hey, Sunday night, I've got a great wind for it. Let's go sit in that stand. And I've always said I would rather take the best one day and sit my best stand for 1 or 2 sits during the most optimal times than have 15 days to hunt the same stand, because the odds of you seeing that nicer, more mature deer is going to significantly increase.
Look at that. Sorry. Well, I didn't listen to anything you said right there because I was setting optimal winds for my stands. Sorry. This is interesting. So today, the sunset is going to be okay for me. So I should be out there. I should be out there this afternoon, this evening.
Well, let's get this done.
Right now. See you later.
Yeah,
see you guys.
I need to go. Tomorrow, the morning and midday is good, but tomorrow afternoon is bad. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I'm preaching to the choir here, but just spending my time with when I worked down in Mississippi for Primos and producing television, it was so interesting learning from guys like Will Primos and Brad Ferris, and just how insane they were about
wind,
managing their property, wind. I hate to tell it to you, but anyone listening, they might have hurt their feelings, but scent elimination doesn't work. With the one caveat, maybe ozonics, maybe, but you have to hunt the wind. You don't have to use sprays. You don't have to shower. Hunt the right wind. If you don't, they're going to smell you, odds are. So wind is absolutely paramount.
Yeah, it's 100% wind dependent, depending on, when I pick a stand, it's 100% wind dependent. Sometimes you'll force yourself into a situation, and Ben, I've been told this story for a long time, but I'm going to tell it because you were kind of involved with this one. But remember a while back when I was living up in Fargo, and I hunted some property by Moorhead, and you helped me hang a couple stands out there one day and put a camera up, and I had a real big buck on camera right away. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to go out there and hunt it. And I looked at the weather, and I don't remember the exact time, but I knew up until about the last hour of the evening, the wind was good, but the last hour it was going to switch. And I was like, I just want to go out there and sit, see what's on the property, see what's walking around, and I'll climb down before the wind changes. I didn't climb down, and all of a sudden I see this buck. Like, I remember it too. I remember feeling the wind switch, and I went, uh-oh, I should climb down. I'm like, I hadn't seen a deer. I'm like, I'm just going to sit out here in glass and whatever. And then boom, as soon as the wind switched, all of a sudden I saw this big buck coming, and he was right behind a tree, and there was one branch coming down from the tree that blocked half his body. Otherwise I could have shot him. He was at 40 yards, and I was drawn back, and he just like reached his head around and put his nose up in the air and winded me, and boom, turned around and ran. I never had a shot at him. So it was a great example that if the wind is wrong and there's nice deer out there, you cannot and then I hunted that all year and never saw him again. Like, he was gone. It was over. So wind is key for sure. One other thing I noticed, you're working with some trail cam companies, and you can integrate some trail cam photos into the app.
Yeah, it's a neat feature. It just allows you to kind of manage, your trail cams through the onX app, be able to see them spatially laid out on the map. So that's another feature that you don't have to check 8 apps at once. You can check, you can go on your onX now and see your trail camera or your cellular trail cameras on the map.
Yeah, that's nice. Because I don't know, I think I have 10 cameras up in a small piece of property. Like, I got them all over the place. So that's it'd be nice to filter that stuff. And we should mention too, we have a discount code right now with Sporting Journal Radio. So people out there wanting to get a new onX membership, they can save 20% off using the code SJR20 right now. Ben, where the App Store or on the website, or where can they use that?
Yeah. Yep. If you want to use a promo code, you can go to onxmaps.com/hunt. And when you're signing up for a membership, there's a spot to put that promo code SJR20. So
that's awesome. Thank you very much. And we should mention, I don't think we've talked about Grand Nationals yet. So let's do that before we cut you loose here. Where are you going to be at this weekend?
So for the first time in the history, in 80 years, the Grand National Grouse Championship is in Wisconsin. So that's happening. It happened all last week. So I was over there last weekend, and I'll be back there this week. And essentially what that is it's a cover dog trial. It's a field trial run on wild grouse and woodcock. And again, it's been going on for 80 years. This is a national championship. So there are 72 dogs entered this year from Pennsylvania, New York, Wisconsin, Minnesota. There are guys from the Dakotas, Montana, all over to see who's got the best grouse dog in the country. So that's happening over in the Eau Claire County Forest, which is just south of Stanley, Wisconsin. You can find information on that if you visit Chippewa Valley Grouse Dog Association's website. If you Google that, you'll be able to find more information on the Grand National Grouse Championship.
Okay, that's who puts that on? Chippewa Valley?
Yep, they're hosting it this year. That's in Wisconsin. It's
gotcha.
Co-hosted between Minnesota, the Chippewa Club, and Moose River. So it's really exciting to have it. There were about 100 people at the kickoff meeting. So those guys out east, they said they haven't seen that much excitement around the Grand in a long time. So we're excited and pretty honored to be hosting it here in our region.
That's awesome. All right. Well, good luck out there. Good luck when you do some deer hunting, and good luck for the rest of the fall. We're in the planning stages of finally doing some hunting together this year. So I'm looking forward to walking some grass or maybe some woods with you. But Ben Bredigan, onX, thanks for the time today on the show.
I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the season.
If you want to catch a big walleye, go where the big walleyes are. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world, with a variety of resorts and lodging facilities offering full-service fishing. Lake of the Woods is also home to sturgeon, sauger, perch, trophy pike, muskie, smallmouth bass, burbot, and more. Plan your trip to Lake of the Woods today. Go to lakeofthewoodsmn.com. That's lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
All right, now it's time to check in with Joe Henry from Lake of the Woods to talk fishing up there at the walleye capital. Joe, how you doing?
Hey, Brett, I'm doing good, buddy. How are you?
Sounded like you had a pretty good trip up there recently.
We did have a good trip up there. Yeah, I was up there with Greg Jones of Midwest Outdoors, and actually had a family member with me, my nephew Johnny. And we went up with an intent of shooting a TV show, a late fall TV show, just to kind of show. We talk so much about how good the Rainy River is, and the Rainy River is awesome right now. There's a lot of shiners in the river right now, and there's a whole bunch of walleyes. But in addition to the Rainy River in the fall, there's more going on, and part of what is going on is fishing the lake. I mean, getting out on that south shore or up in the northwest angle. In this case, we were fishing the south shore, Brett, but getting out in front and anchoring up. And, we tried a few different spots. They were fishing in a few different spots, but we ended up finding our fish on the edge of a reef in about 25 to about 28 feet of water. As we get a little bit deeper, we'd catch a higher concentration of saugers. When we get up on that 26, 27, it seems like there's more walleyes up there. And we just got up there, and nowadays, we had an anchor with, but we just spot locked because it wasn't a wavy day. And we jigged over to the side of the boat with jigs and frozen emerald shiners. I can tell you that stained water of Lake of the Woods, the normal jig colors were working well. So in this case, gold was really good. Greg Jones was using a real bright jig, I think, with colors on it, and the sun was out. So he saw me using gold, and I was doing really well. So he switched to a jig with gold and orange. And then I had a jig on that was pink in the head, the middle of it was glow white, and the back end of it was all gold. And you can see it in the mouth of that smallmouth bass if you're watching this. But
I bought some of those jigs up there before.
Yeah, the Tom's Tackle makes a lot of good jigs for Lake of the Woods, and they know the colors, they know the weights, and it's just they're a neat little tackle company up there. But so we're jigging up, and we got walleyes, saugers, we caught a lot of jumbo perch. And then there've been a lot of perch caught this year, a lot of perch. I just saw a post with one of our guides up there, Jason Grohl, and my goodness, he had a whole live well full of perch as well as his walleyes and saugers. But everybody's been catching them. It's just a good population of jumbos right now. And then, we got a couple smallmouth, like you just showed. And, the smallmouth are when we drifted on top of the reef just to see if there's any walleyes up there. And the top of the reef was like 24, 25 feet. So it wasn't like shallow, but sure enough, man, we caught a couple big smallies up there. So again, another really good fishing trip. We, there's schools of walleyes up and down that south shore. And, obviously that gets us very optimistic for early ice fishing too.
So did you guys fish the river at all, or did you stay out in the lake the whole time?
We just had one day, and we just went out to the lake and got some nice fish there. Again, it's kind of neat because there's fish up and down I talked to some guys from North Dakota that were coming over, and they called me up and asked my opinion where to go fishing, blah, blah, blah. And I gave them a couple ideas, but I said, hey, you just got to go fishing, but the fish are there. And they sent me a little video with the floor of their boat covered with 2 limits of walleyes and saugers with some kicker jumbo perch. And they'd gone out front, I think, I'm pretty sure they're out in front of Lighthouse Gap, and they got some real good fish too. And people in the river are catching fish. We're not getting the real big ones yet, at least that I've heard. We're not getting the 30s and 31s and 32s. We're getting a few, but not like, oh man, there's a big run of big fish in the river. But man, the shiners are there. This last week, the bait dealers that do netting on the river have been getting a lot of minnows. And it's interesting, at one point in time, and every day is different because the minnows are moving and the fish are moving on the river. But one day they said, this one section of the river, all we could get were pinheads, which are the smaller shiners. But then we went to this other part of the river, and the shiners were big shiners. Sometimes they're seine netting them along shore. In some cases, they got those lights at the end of a dock, and they have like an umbrella net underneath them. And what they do is they pull down on a handle, and the whole light and net and everything lifts up. And if those shiners are running, they swirl underneath those lights at the end of the dock. So as you've seen before, Brett, you look down the Rainy River, and there's a kind of a bright light shining in the water on almost every dock.
Oh yeah, anytime we're up there in the fall, that's as soon as it gets dark out, I'm like, hey, do you guys got lights on? I'm gonna go, I'll run down to the dock to take a look. And I remember one year, I can't remember, maybe it was a video we saw. Somebody had a walleye come up and chomp on one of those shiners in their video, and they were filming the shiner spinning. It was kind of neat. And
I think the eyes glow, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think today actually Paul Johnson at Riverbend actually put up a video of shiners off the end of their dock there. So it's kind of neat to see. it's seeing wildlife up there, really, you know.
I got to tell you, there was one a few years back here. I went down. I was up there in the fall, and I went down to one of the resort docks to get a video of the shiners swirling. They swirl in a clockwise position in circles, gallons of them, you can imagine. But they swirl into that light. So I took a video of that just for Facebook. At the same time, there was a huge flock of geese staged across the river over the Canadian side. You could hear them honking away, kind of resting, you know, for the night. And then over my head, you could hear
yeah, probably golden eyes.
Ducks come over to me, and then over, over one shoulder, I could hear domestic dogs barking from some of the residences, and then over my other shoulder across the river, I could hear a pack of wolves howling.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is all happening at the same time. It's like freaking unbelievable, you know.
It's kind of funny that you say that, because that video that I watched of Paul's today, I think he did it in slow-mo, and you can hear geese on the river honking in slow motion. So
you're kind of, you know, every time I'm with you, you not only
making bird noises,
you're always imitating different goose sounds.
Yeah,
you have a passion for goose, yeah.
Well, yeah, and then when you sit there and hunt them, and a lot of times you have a lot of downtime, so you do stuff when you're bored, and sometimes I just try to imitate bird noises and stuff. Yeah, I'm glad and everybody I'm hunting with always loves it too.
Oh yeah,
it's never annoying.
Bird noises with your free time and nothing else.
It's that time of year though, Joe. You know, we're talking November. We're late fall fishing, waterfowl migration, deer hunting season is here. Of course, every year we talk about the struggle being real during the deer season. Do you go grouse hunting? Do you go deer hunting? Do you go duck hunting? Do you go fishing? Because the fishing's usually pretty good that time of year too. But pretty soon, temps are going to drop, and we're going to start thinking about early ice. And it's time to start thinking about some ice fishing plans, isn't it?
It's going to be happening. In fact, when we went out that morning, we went out of a back bay, and in the back bay, there was just a little skim of ice in one little area. What wasn't all over the bay. But my point is, it's coming, right? And you know what? As a rule, beginning of December, normally, and obviously Mother Nature will dictate, and our resorts won't let you out unless it's safe, but you know what? Normally, right away in the beginning of December is when you can bring four-wheelers and snowmobiles. Somebody will have a trail marked out on the ice, typically for early ice fishing with collapsibles. And typically, on an average year, about December 10th is when day houses get out on the ice, which are, you don't sleep overnight in a day house. It's just like a four-person. But they'll get brought out. And then, as the season progresses into December, normally around Christmas is when they start letting SUVs out on the roads, and then the weight limits start increasing. That's average. Now, every year can be different. We could get a blast of cold and be earlier this year, or it could be a little bit warmer and it might be a little bit later. But again, that's where you can rely on organizations like ours, Lake of the Woods Tourism, to keep you updated, as well as all of our resorts that do ice fishing up at Lake of the Woods. They do a great job with their social media and keeping people in the know. It also it's self-serving because it relieves the number of phone calls they get.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. You know that helps, because I know you say, and we've said it for years. Contact the local resorts for information. You know, not necessarily to get information.
We lean on local resorts because who am I to say Lake of the Woods is so big? Who am I to say that ice levels are a certain way when you go in this part of the shoreline and they got a trail marked out and it's good ice? And you go over here and there was open water a week ago, and who would know that other than the local outfitters and guides, you know?
Yeah. It's tough because on one hand you want people to call them to get the latest info for safety, but how many times have you talked to a guide where it's like, okay, here's another guy just wanting a fishing report, want to find out where the fish are biting, and then they're just going to go out there on their own, and you know, like that.
Or they're calling me, and then they're going to go out on a neighboring resort.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you know, it's when it hits at the same time, and it's just a chaos with the number of people that want to come up and get on the ice for the first time. And it's understandable, but again, that's where social media in today's world, or jumping onto our newsletter or checking out our fishing report, man, it can get you some really good information in a hurry. And you know, and that's where the resorts' social media come in, because they are giving information on their ice road or their ice trail specifically. And you know, every ice trail can be different based on how the ice formed in their area.
I mean, let's be honest. The best way to get a fishing report for Lake of the Woods is just to listen to this show, to watch this show. I mean,
I'll tell you what, we give some pretty, obviously we don't talk about where the fish aren't biting. We talk about where they are biting. But you know what? For the average angler, you listen to a fishing report that we talk about, it gives you a good head start. It gives you an idea of where to begin and then go from there.
It was kind of nice last year. We didn't have to go out very far to catch our fish. It's kind of nice it's a big lake. And by the sounds of it, where you're catching fish here last week, when that early ice hits, you won't have to go very far.
No, we're fortunate right now because there's a pile of fish in various areas across the South Shore where our resort's ice fish. In addition, there are a lot of nice walleyes in the river right now going after those shiners. And what we believe happens, some of those walleyes will stay in the river, but as ice forms, some of those walleyes will start to filter back into the lake and actually feed the anglers along that South Shore. And of course, I never want to forget about the angle. I mean, the angle fishing has been good all summer, all fall. And, where those resorts up at the Northwest Angle go, just targeting structure primarily, or maybe just off the structure in the mud, the fishing this fall has been phenomenal, like it normally is at the angle. And so we're excited. We're excited for the ice fishing season. The fishing's been great. We got a great population of walleyes and saugers right now. There's some nice size one. Our perch are a bonus. People are already catching eel pout or burbot, jigging because the water's getting colder. So they're starting to catch those now, which is kind of neat. I saw that somebody caught a bowfin, or I think a dogfish in the Rainy River, which is very rare. In fact, I don't even know if the DNR lists dogfish being in the river, but I sent a screenshot of that to our DNR fisheries manager, Matt Skoog, up there, and I'm sure he probably saw it. And I think we've talked about it. Once in a while there'll be an oddball fish in there, but I don't think. I'm
sure the DNR planted it, just like they're planting mountain lions, and I'm sure it's
right around election season.
Speaking of the DNR, we had a fisheries input meeting for Lake of the Woods here recently, and I'm happy to report that the fish levels for walleyes and saugers and pike are very good. They're very healthy right now, and I also was really pleased about if we'd start hitting what they believe is a threshold maximum for the number of pounds harvested out of the lake. Then there's a whole bunch of other criteria that kick in that they look at very closely, which in essence is kind of like the canary in the coal mine kind of thing. And I thought their plan was very well thought out. I thought that it protects the lake, because when it's all said and done, whether it's a resort or people that fish it or naturalists or the DNR or whomever, all the stakeholders, I think one of the things we all got to focus on is sustainability of our fishery. Luckily, we have a good slot limit that preserves a lot of our spawning and breeding fish, and that really helps a lot. Heck, whether it's a 19.5 to 28-inch slot we have on Lake of the Woods now that you got to return those walleyes, or for pike, it's 30 to 40 inches, you got to return them with an intent of creating a trophy pike lake, which we now have. So a lot of good things happening on the lake right now.
Well, and that walleye slot limit's grown a lot of big walleyes too. So it's one of the reasons that those big fish are there. And, even if you catch like a couple of 25s or 26s, that's a lot of fun. It's a great fish to catch. All right, Joe, if people want to plan a trip this winter or maybe some fall fishing up at Lake of the Woods, what should they do?
Check out our website, and that is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Sporting Journal Radio is a division of Macaba LLC. If you've got a question, comment, or story idea for us, send us an email. Go to sportingjournalradio.com. While you're there, you can learn how to advertise on the show and visit our store for hats, hoodies, coffee mugs, and more. Go to sportingjournalradio.com.